Welcome you all to my talk show, Talkathon with Shubhadeep, and I'm Shubhadeep Basu, your host. So I'm here after a long, of course, after a long gap because of some unavoidable circumstances, some unavoidable situations. You must be knowing that 2020 was a horrendous year for all of us, most of us. Now, if you were newly divorced or going through a messy separation, or even if you split from a partner a while ago, we feel for you. Yes, of course, we do feel for you. These things are rarely easy. If the two of you have a child or a children, the situation can even be harder. Among other things, you may be worried that your partner or your former partner is turning your child against you or turning your children against you. So, this is what parental alienation is all about. Parental alienation is a situation in which parent uses loads of strategies like brainwashing, alienating, or programming your child against you. And that is the saddest story of that is the saddest part of the whole story. Welcome, Mr. Zaki, also. So, before we
Thank you so
start,
much, Mr. Basu.
yeah, before we
I'm
start, I
really
would like to
sorry.
introduce the panelists who are there to discuss this issue, parental alienation, a social concern. I would like to introduce Swati Bajpayee. Hi, Swati. Swati
Hi.
Bajpayee is a licensed clinical social worker, University of Illinois, Chicago, USA. I would like to welcome Jaggoshini Chakraborty, a journalist. I would like to introduce Muhammad Amar Zaki, advocate, Kolkata High Court, and patron of Ayushman Initiative for Child Rights, and Mr. Urijit Mitra, child rights activist and honorary secretary to Ayushman Initiative for Child Rights. Welcome you all to my talk show, Talkathon with Shubhadeep, and our today's discussion is on parental alienation, a social concern. To begin with, I would like to ask Mr. Orijit Mitra, what's your idea as a child rights activist? What's your idea about parental alienation syndrome, or PAS as we call it? And what's your take about the whole analysis which India actually is, making by themselves? So I would like to know what is the analysis in India about the parental alienation syndrome. Mr. Mitro.
It's very unfortunate to say that in India, most people are not aware of this. Never have heard of the topic also called parental alienation syndrome. And whenever I have been speaking about this to different people in different society, in different strata, I have found that they don't even know that it exists and what it is actually. So basically, this is actually a form of a mental alienation of the child, which happens with their parents. It not necessarily be in divorced cases. It can also be with parents who are living separately, estranged by choice. It can also be, a case in a normal family where the parents are not related to their children. And it's quite unfortunate that neither the government nor the social civil society and the judiciary is at all aware of this, not even sensitized on this. I have been speaking to the ministry, I've been speaking to some judges, current judges and former judges. I've been speaking to a lot of journalists who cover every topic on earth, but they do not cover this topic at all because either they are not aware of it or they don't find any TRP into it. So now the basic unfortunate outcome of this is that these children are losing their uh, childhood. The children, the rights are not being spoken about in society, and nobody is there to care about. And in India, as in most of the underdeveloped societies and countries all around the world, the children rights do not have any focus and they do not have any priority. And very few people are bothered about it. So that is why we thought of taking up this cause. And You will be surprised to know that we have been receiving a lot of queries and empathies from people all around, people who are not knowing it. And even in Supreme Court, we have filed an intervening petition. We have also on the verge of filing a PIL in the Calcutta High Court and in different other high courts. And we are urging the judiciary as well as the government through their administrative arms, like the Child Welfare Committees and the State Commission of Protection of Child Rights, to do something about it. So this is my take on this.
My question goes to Mr. Mohammed Zakir. Um, in India, I'm talking about the Indian law. Is there any formal rule to handle pass? Any punishment for this, Mr. Zakir? Can you please brief us on the law part, and then you talk about the punishment part? You are not audible. You are not audible, Mr. Zakir. You are not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. So see, as far as parental alienation is concerned, till now, there is no recognition as of such. Okay. In fact, when you are going to the court also, and generally when the mother, she applies for the custody of the child, of a minor child. So generally the custody of the child is given to the mother. Okay, it is presumed that the child can be best taken care of by the mother and not by the father. So under those circumstances, there is no law as of yet in India. But yes, like there are activists like Mr. Mitro and many others who are talking to the government so that some kind of a formal laws comes up in India.
And what about the punishment? Is there any? Hello, Mr. Zaki. Mr. Zaki, are you there? I think there's some problem in there. I would like to go to the Swati Bajpayee. Hi, Swati.
Hi.
Swati, my question to you is, see, we are talking about parental alienation and the parental alienation syndrome, and you being a clinical social worker, I mean the licensed clinical social worker, and that also in USA. What's your take on Indian parent, in the Indian situation, the parental alienation syndrome? What's your take? Is it same everywhere, or is it completely different in different countries?
I would say, see, the basic human emotions remain very similar. So it could be similar, but again, there is a lot of awareness for the sake of the child. At least I see in US, I would say for the West too, that this the health professionals are aware of it, the educators are aware of it, and even the parents are aware of it. So a concerned parent, a fair parent would try to do everything that is good for their own child. So if they know it's going to affect them psychologically, I think that they would be more careful before saying things. While in India, it's culturally, as was mentioned, that the mothers would take care. And I don't deny there is a natural connection with the mother. But at the same time, father, to alienate a father, even while living in the homes, a lot of times there is somehow culturally also it is so that the children talk only to the mothers. And if the father also has to be told anything to the father, it is through the mother. So that kind of a barrier comes between the natural relationship in general, which is not good because I feel that both the parents are required. And as I said, it's culturally somewhere in there that the mothers are going to be the go-away between the father and the children in general. And if it happens in divorces, nobody questions any mother or a family which is indulging in something like this, that you are affecting the psyche of the child. It is presented as that I'm protecting my child. So unless there is proven abuse, any kind of abuse, how can it be taken for granted that the father is actually trying to harm? So you have to give everybody a chance. And for families as a system also, the input of both the partners is needed. So yes, I would say that there is a lot, and even it's not only in divorces and in separations. In Indian families, it's their right living in there too.
Mm-hmm. Very interestingly, that what you say. How to actually, that is my next question, that how to prove parental alienation? Is there any way or any method to prove parental alienation?
It is actually pretty difficult because the children, see, when you are with the parent, and especially for mothers, as I said, there is a natural connection, there is a natural tendency. Most of the children have to keep their mother protected. And in many homes, the mothers, as I would say, the women are actually doing a lot of things which shows that the father has more power, which it could be true too. I'm not saying it's not. So the children have this natural inclination to protect the mother. So it's very difficult to get anything out of a child which could get their mother in trouble. So it is a very complicated thing, and it is only can be done like when I do private practice. So I have clients who are now adults. I also deal with children. And only when we are talking, then we find out that, okay, this was told. And then, of course, if I go dig deep into it, that maybe it could be true or it could not be true. So as a psychotherapist, what I do is present both the sides. Now it's up to the person to like whatever they want to believe in. But of course, it is brought to the notice. So it is more so in the therapy aspect of it that you can, but otherwise it's very difficult to prove. It's very rarely would you find a child which would try to implicate a parent.
I do understand, but Swati, you must be treating a lot of people who really need this help. So there is a treatment. But why are you not talking? I'm talking about the clinical aspect. Why are you not talking about the prevention of parental alienation? Can we prevent parental alienation? Is it possible?
Of course, certainly, and that's why, like in US, what they prefer even in divorces is co-parenting. The court does not want one. The child can live with the mother, as it's mentioned that yes, like minor children, it's always safer. And depending on also the economic situations, a lot of times even fathers get the custody. Like I know many people whose fathers have their custodies because the fathers were more stable parents. If the mothers don't, like if they don't have the economic means, or for many other reasons, the court doesn't feel that the mother is suitable enough, then the custody is given even to the fathers. But what the US system prefers is co-parenting, that whoever it could be, even if the child is living with the mother, they get to interact frequently and quite often with the father too. And that the system is very much keen about.
And what about India? What about India?
In India, that's what it is. As I said, if the divorce happens, that it is taken for granted that the mother will get it, the child, and the father would not be there. Many times, maybe the father, I'm not aware whether they even reach out, but if they do reach out, there should be a system that the courts should encourage co-parenting. Child needs both parents, and ideally, even as parents, you can separate as partners or husband wife, but the child belongs to both of you. You cannot, there is no ex-father or no ex-mother. So how, if you have problems as adults, either you sort it out or you separate or whatever, but even deal with it as an adult. Don't bring young children into it because you are poisoning their minds and it has long-term impacts on their personality. So yes, as I said, the court should encourage, there should be more intervention, even as I said, that there should be counseling given when parents are going through divorce, even to the children, that they should be made aware what kind of life changes are they going to be facing. There will be big changes for them. Their home will cease to be as it was. So the judicial as well as social intervention, I would say, like as I said, keeping in mind the psychological aspect of it, should be there. Maybe there should be counseling even provided through the court systems.
Thanks a lot, Swati, for your inputs. I would like to move to Jaggosheni. Jaggosheni, you being a journalist and also a single mother to a 19-year-old guy. So what Swati was talking about is, that the custody remains in India. Mainly, the custody remains with the mother, and the father actually doesn't come into the picture at all. So, what's your take about this? How was your journey, and can you please share a bit of your story so that it would be easier for us to understand how, as an Indian mother and an educated mother and a single mother, actually take it forward? The parental alienation and whatever we are discussing right now.
I removed my child when he was 5 from a position which was abusive to me personally, as well as now, from what I hear today, he was also a victim of manipulation by my in-laws, where he was being brainwashed against me. My case is a little different in the sense that I have always pushed for both parents to have contact, though he lived with me because I had to move out of that abusive situation. He lived with me. However, I have always, at least in the beginning, I kept asking his father to be more involved. But he wasn't. And I have a question today to the experts. Parental alienation, as I have seen it, yet I do have friends who have been the victim of, whose children have been the victims of parental alienation through their mothers. I can straight away think of at least two male friends whose children have been taken away from them by their mothers and whose children have been brainwashed. But my question here is, it affects parental alienation, as I see it, affects both two parties. One is the child, of course, against who is being manipulated, and I see that as a form of abuse. The second is the parent who has been alienated, either the father or the mother. I see my friends going through depression because they can't see their children. In my case, for example, my child suffered initially because his father or his father's side of the family chose to not be involved. It was almost like a desertion, like an abandonment, where I wanted, their alienation happened voluntarily. What does there are these social layers. So what does one do in those circumstances where a parent is choosing to alienate himself or herself from the child? The child nonetheless is suffering trauma. The trauma remains the same, right? That's one. And the media aspect, I think what Mr. Mitra was saying about the media not taking this issue up yet, I believe, as it now stands, because there are so many gray areas, it is difficult to write about. I believe there is no concrete definition yet of parental alienation tangible enough to be written about. Since there is obviously in India at least still no legal or social recognition of this syndrome, I really don't know how. I still write. I'm a freelance writer. I've just, I write about various issues. If you leave it to me, I would have to ask you multiple questions and, um, uh, sort of really struggle to come to a definitive conclusion about what parental alienation really is and how it can be made punishable. How can the law punish a mindset? In say in my case, can my ex-husband be forced to take more of an interest in his child? Can the court compel him because he doesn't want to? He doesn't care. If he doesn't care, then can the court force him to? The court can force him to pay child support, possibly. That's as far as the court can do. You cannot force him to take the child out for the occasional lunch or dinner. So I think while it is still in this very nebulous stage, it is a difficult subject to write about. I think once concrete measures are taken, it will become easier. Done.
Yeah, very nicely framed, Jaggusheni. I have a question for Mr. Mitra. Mr. Mitra, with reference to whatever Jaggusheni was talking about, can you please throw some light on this? That the father, as a father, again, who is planning to go take the custody of his or her, his son or daughter, how easy the path is. How easy I don't know whether I'm able to explain you how far it is easy for a person to take charge of the child and not giving it to the mother in today's context, in today's Indian context.
Well, I will just take a lead from what Swati had said. A concept called co-parenting. This concept is there in certain states in USA, but not in all the states. And it, like Kentucky has, it is a law over there. We are fighting on this. Actually, our main theme is shared parenting and co-parenting. We believe that the child should have access to both the parents. It is a basically not a gender war, and this parental relation should be separated from anything to do with father versus mother and mother versus father. That's the first thing you have to understand. So, coming back to the question that you have said, so basically, that is why we actually advocate co-parenting, and that is also have been advocated by the Law Commission report, which is lying in Parliament in 2015, and it has not been pushed by the government. And we have been talking to the Ministry of Law and Justice, even to the Women and Child Development, and so on and so forth, even to NCPCR. And since Yogashani is there and she has connects, very good connects in the media, I would like uh, to take her help and just forward this to the media people also to look after this and to pursue the matter. Basically, the shared parenting or co-parenting and how difficult it is to take a custody is not difficult at all, because we believe you should not take sole custody of your child. Nobody, neither the mother nor the father should, because both parents are complementary to each other. The role that a mother plays in a child's life, the father can't play, and the role that a father plays in the child's life, the mother can't play. It has to be accepted whether one likes it or not. And therefore, the UNCRC, that is the United Nations, had already come out with a charter, and in Article 9, they have already said that the child has a fundamental right to the love and affection of both parents. Now, coming to, as usually said, how to find out whether what is parental alienation, what is legal recognition. You'll be happy to know that in Mumbai, the family court just 3 days back has given an order where the judge has recognized this parental alienation. And going back to this, in 2017, the Supreme Court has already admitted this aspect of parental alienation, and Justice Sikri has already said that the child is like a liquid in the bottle. If you put a red color, it will become red. If you put a yellow color, it will become yellow. And that is what alienation is all about. And as far the laws are concerned, the NCPCR and the MCW, we have been following it up, and they have recognized and acknowledged that it is there. But the problem is they are not going forward with it to do a research and a survey of the impact that it is having on India. Because the child is actually a human capital. My child, for example, does not belong to me nor to my wife. It belongs to the country. It's a human capital. We are wasting this human capital, and you'll be alarmed to know that around 1 lakh of these children suffer every year because of divorce cases in courts.
In India?
Now, yes, in India. I'm talking about India. And if you do an analysis, you will find this out. Now, what is aiding and abetting this parental alienation? I don't know whether Zaki is there or he's
No, he's not there right now.
he is offline. Thing is that when we are coming and fighting for the custody and visitation parenting right, number one is in the law there is no word called parenting. There's a word which is being used in a fallacy like visitation. A mother or a father is not a visitor in a child's life. This is the first thing we want to say. So why are you using the word visitation? You should use the term parenting, number one. Number two, the courts, at least in India, are giving this visitation rights, say 2 hours a month. It comes to 24 hours in a year. What does this visitation mean? Are you doing a favor to somebody? No, it's my right. First of all, why should I come to the court for that? I'm coming to the court because the other party is not allowing me access to the child.
My question, hence my question was, this is a social situation. This is a very
Yes,
social
absolutely.
situation. It is very difficult to regulate through the legal system how
See,
much time a parent should spend with his or her child.
right. So here there is no, specific yardstick, but there should be sufficient time. If you just make a comparison, suppose a child is spending with the father, say 98% of his time in the year, and with the mother just 2%, is that a welfare to the child? I don't think so. It's very easy to, not to have any yardstick, but it should be at least 60-40, 75-35, like that. There should be some parity in the access orders that are given to the courts, which they do not giving. And that is the problem, because they are not sensitized. When I have been talking to the judicial academies, I have found they don't even know what is parental alienation. There's no training for the judges. The same way with the government departments, when you roam about in the child welfare committees, roam about the State Commission Protection of Child Rights, you will find they don't have any system to at least address the issue. They don't even know. So when you go with the problem, they have no solution to it.
So right now the system is balanced in favor of the mother. In
No, you
India,
see,
at least, the
there
legal system.
I think it is a misconception, because what I have found from working in this field, and also I am finding my own case in the court. First of all, the fathers are not fighting this matter properly. That is number one. Number two, they are not having enough time to care for their own, legal cases, because they have other works. So they are not being able to follow up with the lawyers. And the lawyers generally do not have the correct approach to it. Number one. Number two. Number three, what is also a fallacy in most cases is, for not for the fathers and mothers I'm talking about, for every parent. Whenever they're going to the court, they are becoming abusive and trying to, undermine the other parent. But that is not the welfare of the child. So what happens is the judge also gets prejudiced. That
Power
if
struggle. There's a power
if as a
struggle.
father I go and berate my wife in the court and ask for the custody of the child, the judge thinks that what welfare is he thinking about his son or his daughter. It is the other same way around for the other side, you see. So there has to be a balanced approach, and when you approach the court, you are approaching in two ways. One is you're fighting a divorce, that is number one, and number two, say custody. There are two different aspects at all. So at least Ayushman believes that whenever the child is concerned, you go and talk about the welfare that you can do. And that is why we believe that we should not undermine the other party. What we should do is just try to impress upon the judge that there should be adequate access for both the parties. Right. So even if you do not have sole custody, it doesn't mean that you will lose access to the child if you are just following up the child, because any court order does not restrain you from meeting your child anywhere. Right. It is, you have to make an extra effort. That's like what you are telling. You have to make an extra effort to reach to your child. That might be difficult because your other, as it happens, is the other parent will try to block you most of the cases. But there have been lot of happy incidents also. You can take the example of Leander Pace. He comes from a broken family, but he doesn't have an alienation. He is a very good example to the world of how shared parenting and co-parenting can be. And I've been talking to him. He is trying to ask him also. I've tried to ask him also to help the cause, because that will help us. So you see, that is the thing. And as regarding child abuse is concerned, there was a question. Now we believe that this is a mental abuse of the child and it should come under the Juvenile Justice Act. Now the problem is that in Juvenile Justice Act, if you fall this under Section 75, you will be jailed. Now for the welfare of the child, you will not want your parent to go to jail. Therefore, they are in a fix as to what sort of a legal accountability can come for this. So that is taking time.
Okay.
Right.
Very nicely put up, Mr. Mitra. My question to again to Swati. Swati, we know there is a term called reverse parental alienation. So, what are the steps for this reverse parental alienation? As a clinical social worker, you must be handling this also. So, can you please brief us on reverse parental alienation?
See,
can I just interrupt you once?
Yeah.
Zaki was saying to add him. He's got some problem, I think. I don't know. In the Facebook. Can you just see Shubhadev?
But I can't see him. He's not there.
I don't know. He's saying that he's waiting for a long time. He needs to be added.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, now he's there. I'm so sorry, Mr. Zaki. I think there was some technical fault with you.
Yes, there was a technical fault, and the issues.
Yeah.
Such
okay. No, that's fine. Absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine.
Issue and
yeah. So yeah. So we were just in the middle of the discussion. We were just talking to Swati, and Swati,
so when you are very serious with it.
Yeah.
There's an echo actually, huh? So, yeah, my question, Swati, you were saying you're talking about the reverse parental alienation. Can you please brief us on that?
See, what it could look like would be that that's being done by the other parent, but see, as I said, this is a very complicated topic, and it is something which cannot be put in words. As in, this is the only thing. There are so many things which happen if a parent is, if two parents are divorcing or getting separated, or if the relationship is not good. And as we were discussing about the parental alienation, is that it has its psychological impact on the children. But to put it like directly into categories altogether would not be the easiest thing, because as I said, that there are so many things which are there in this. So what I could say more so about it is that how it impacts the child's psychological well-being, and that is it impacts their self-esteem. It also causes mental health issues like depression. Also, as the children grow up, substance abuse, because substance abuse and mental health go hand in hand typically. It also impacts their future relationships, because they have not learned, they've not seen people trusting each other, they were taught not to trust. It impacts even their professional life, because if they are not able to trust people around themselves, how would they be a team player? So as Abhijit was mentioning earlier, it impacts the human capital. It impacts the economy in the long run. And all the health issues that come up with it is also getting paid somewhere by the taxpayers' money. So if people start understanding how it's impacting, it's the huge impact that it does by not the co-parenting by itself. If the co-parenting is there, they could divide, like maybe the holidays. Father gets this holiday, mother gets this holiday. Weekdays, the child is staying with the mother. Weekends, if the father wants, they can come and spend with the child or take the child out. So like the big things, it might not be 50-50 as Abhijit mentioned, but it should be fair depending on the parents' life situations. And as was being mentioned earlier, how do you force a father or a mother to spend time with a child? Yes, you cannot, because right now I'm dealing with a client and that's what's happening with her. The court has mandated that the father has to spend time. So the father even sends the ticket for the child to travel to another state. The child goes there. The father already has like another family. So the child is there, but he doesn't spend time with the child. So the child is actually getting depressed because of that. He's getting anxiety. He's going for his own therapy. So you can do everything, and the mother is my client. You can do everything, but you can't force anybody to spend time. The court can only also do so much. If the father has no interest, what do? You can't do.
And the side effect of this, I think, is the depression on the part of the alienated parent that I was talking about earlier, because the father who is deprived of his daughter or his son, I have seen friends of mine go into deep and lengthy depressions because they cannot interact. They have been denied access to their children, and their children. There comes a stage when the child has, spent say 3 years, 4 years without the father at a very formative stage, and then no longer recognize. I mean, that child no longer has
Relates
that
to
ease, relates to the father. There's no ease of interaction.
Yeah.
There's this awkwardness when they next meet, say at the end of 4 years or 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because by then she has gone ahead and, adjusted to her new life. True. But always, as Swati says, at a cost. I think there is always a cost, a price to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. Very nice.
And the other thing, one other thing, I would like to add that any alienating parent who thinks that they will be closer to the child, a child will come to know eventually as they get older, and then they will be holding this parent, like they will not, this child will be not having relationship with any of the parents. So you're making your child poorer by human relationships, and humans are social animals. And if you think that you can get away with it, no. If the child is intelligent enough, sooner or later they will figure it out, and then you will lose all the respect, even whatever the child could have had. So it has a huge human values or feelings price that a person will have to pay in the long run. They don't see it then. They'll find that out later.
Mohammed Zaki, my question to you, is parental alienation against the law? Number one. Number two, what qualifies as parental alienation? Mohammed Zaki, are you there?
I think he has problems in the
Connections, but
internet.
yeah, I understand. But I think, yeah, Mr. Zaki, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. There are some technical glitches
No, no, it's
happening.
absolutely fine. Just take it easy. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, my question was that is parental alienation against the law, or what actually qualifies as parental alienation?
See, I'll say yes, it is against the law. As of now, there is no law in India. But if you see, it's a form of a sexual child abuse. Okay, somewhere or the other, like when the parents who is having the custody of the child, when she talks bad mouth about the other parents, okay, and when the child is going to the school or the college, like there is some kind of like when you are going somewhere with your parents, like the child is having a different psychology, and when he sees like other parents, like his friends parents, then that time he is having a different kind of a psychology. So somewhere or the other, like yes, he is getting psychologically abused. So yes, I think like there should be law, the lawmaker should make a law in India as far as parental alienation is concerned, and it should be covered under the child abuse, and it should be made a criminal offense.
Yeah, and and my second question was like, what qualifies as a parental alienation? I mean, what are the criteria to fulfill the parental alienation in today's date?
If you're talking about within the ambit of law, so I'll say once again, like in India, as of now, there's no such law. So it will be very difficult as a lawyer from the legal aspects to say like what will be the line like which you cross will come under parental alienation, and what will be the line if you don't cross will not come under the parental alienation.
So I cannot press any charge. I cannot press any charges for parental alienation against anyone.
See, like the word parental alienation is still not known to many of the judges. Okay, like especially like if you come to India, like generally in India, like the lower court judges, the family court judges, and the district court judges, they follow a pinhole theory. Okay,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
there is a pinhole, and they know like if this type of matter is coming, this type of order I need to pass.
Hmm. Hmm.
They will not go like either left or right. They'll stick
Hmm.
on to that. So
Hmm.
this becomes very difficult. There's somewhere there's a fear in the mind of the district judges, because district judges think because this type of matter is basically taken by the district judge or the family court judges. So there is always a chance of elevation to the high court, right?
Hmm.
So they don't want
Hmm.
to risk their career, and go beyond that pinhole and pass any order, which might, which they think which might, can stop the elevation or something.
I understand. Now, how to actually prove false allegations of parental alienation in court?
Now, see, that depends upon matter to matter. If there are
Okay.
certain allegations as far as parental alienation is concerned, you'll have to
Hmm.
see what are the allegations. Okay, because not every parents,
Right.
if there is a parental alienation, and if there is a kind of a like if the one of the parents is talking bad mouth about the other parent, like the other kind of things which that parents may be doing. So every
Hmm.
case have got a different characteristic, different nature. So it will depend again on case to case
Hmm.
and allegations to
Hmm.
allegations.
I have a question for Mr. Zaki. If
Yes, ma'am.
I could just, all of the experts actually, because I have gone through this in reverse. Uh, shouldn't the child's voice be heard too? Because I have watched my son go through, say, abandonment or rejection issues because of the life that he had to lead. Shouldn't the child possibly be involved in the process? Is it possible for a child to involve herself or himself in the process and actually describe the impact that one parent's actions is having on her or him? How the, say, the manipulations of the mother against the father are affecting the child? Isn't the child the best person to talk about it?
In many cases, child's view is taken. If the child is minor, like generally, like he's taken to the judge's room, and like the judges ask him, not in the open court, but yes, like in a different room, they ask him like what they want, and generally, but what happens, like the child who has been spending days with the other parents, like the parents who is having the custody of the child, so there are a lot of things involved in those cases. At times like the child's mind is completely brainwashed, or like there's certain kind of a fear like which is put on the child's mind. I'll share a story with you. Like there was a child, very young child. He was around 3 years or 4 years, and there was this child custody matter going on between the father and the mother. The custody of the child was with the mother, and when the day, like when the judge was supposed to speak to the child, that day the mother, she took a knife, put it on her stomach, and told her that if you say that you want to go to your father, I'll pierce this knife with like in. I know that the child started crying, and he loved his both the parents. He loved his mother as well as his father, and he didn't want to see the child mother dying, right? So like he went to the judge's room and he said that no, I want to stay with my mother. So this type of cases are there.
This is complete child abuse, actually. This is
It
total
is.
abuse of a child. Yes.
It is. It is.
That's sad. That's really sad. I really don't know. Mr. Zaki, sorry, Swati, I have a question for you. We generally come across something called narcissistic parental alienation. So, what exactly is this, and how to cope up with it?
Uh, See, basically, the narcissists are people who like they think that they are the gift to humankind. They have like various symptoms, as we would call it in our psychological diagnostic manual. So for them, everything begins and ends with them. What they do is the correct thing. And the other person's views would not matter at all. And so in this case, like if they're dealing with their children, these people would never ask a child, what does the child want? Like if the child would want to meet the other parent, or if the child would like to have a relationship with the other parent, they would not think about even the other parent. That, as I said, that the relationship could have broken between two people, but the child still belongs to both of them. So it is them and nothing else. So I guess it impacts not only the parental alienation, I'm sure it impacts even their own relationship with their child, how they are bringing up the child in each and everything. And we do hear about many children talking about parents who never asked them what they wanted, ever. So that is another. So asking the child is very important, but children, they do not have an emotional vocabulary at young age. As we get older, our brains develop and we start accumulating an emotional vocabulary. So it's very difficult for a child to put into words what they exactly feel. And as I said, that for that, they have to have an emotional vocabulary. And that's where also has to be taught to children as they get older, how to express themselves. So maybe a lot of times children are not able to, and that's why, again, you will need somebody who can understand what the child is trying to say. It can be due to many ways, but emotional vocabulary we develop as we get older.
Yeah. Jagushini, I have a question for you. Now, you being into media for a long time now, for more than 2 decades. Now, as a media person, what's your take about parental alienation? Do you think that media is absolutely talking about it, or media is just hush-hush about it, or do you think media should be more sensitive towards this issue and make it quite popular, or make it aware, make it people aware of it?
Of course, on principle, yes, of course. But the problem with media or the problem with writing anything is just as, it is so difficult to prove that one parent is manipulating the child against another parent. This being so difficult to prove, it is, so commensurately, it is difficult to write about. If I cannot prove, if all of it is hearsay, there is every chance that a parent may be falsely accusing another parent of manipulation. There is, such things have been known to happen. So it is very difficult for me to prove that there is alienation, in which case, how can I write about it? If it is so hard to prove, that's one. Two is, there are chances that, this is going to be pushed into a lifestyle kind of section where you do, lifestyle. There's this whole section called lifestyle in most newspapers or on digital news portals, where everything from autism to all kinds of spectrum disorders to anxiety to depression to loneliness to parental alienation, everything will be clubbed under that one section called lifestyle. From recipes to everything else, everything is part of lifestyle. Yoga. So problem is its problem is uh, this is actually a far bigger problem than any of us have guessed. From today's discussion, that is something that I'm taking away, that this is a bigger problem that any of us realize. And I think it deserves to be more mainstream, not just
Correct.
tucked into the lifestyle section. It
Right.
probably needs to, that can happen only if, possibly, if the courts intervene in some
Exactly.
way. I don't know
Exactly.
what way. If the courts intervene, that makes it mainstream. Then the legal reporter will take it up, the court reporter, and then we'll get say a page 3 space maybe, or a
Yeah,
page
I
4, or
understand. So,
even a
so,
page
so in
1.
continuation, I would like to ask Mr. Zaki. Mr. Zaki, what's your take on this? Why court is also not sensitizing, media to, get more involved into this sort of a situation and to make it more, what should I say, more popular, or whatever is the word.
See, the first thing is that, even the people, the general public, they are not well aware about parental alienation. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so until unless the public is, responding to it, if they are having issues, if they don't go to the court, so and the matter doesn't come up before the court just can't directly come up, give a media bite and say that, the media should sensitize this matter, media should take up this matter. So when the issue will come before the court, so there are a lot of papers with law journals presently, and everyone is reading those, like Live Law and Bar and Bench. So if this kind of issue is coming before the
Mm-hmm.
court can do something or say something in its order regarding
I
parental
understand.
alienation,
I understand. I
right?
understand. So my question to
So
Mr. Mitra, you being a child right activist and also a social activist, why you are, what's your take about media's contribution to such a social concern, parental alienation? Why do you think that the awareness is lacking among all of us about the parental alienation, which is again which is going to become a very big concern, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years? Then why we are not much concerned right now? Why we're not aware right now? What's your take about this?
You see, it's already a very big concern. As I told you, it's hidden behind,
I'm
and
talking about
it's,
the awareness factor. I'm talking completely from the
yeah,
awareness
coming to that.
perspective.
I'm coming to that. It is only because people are ignorant of this,
Mhm.
and irrespective of in which level of society they are struggling and uh, they are living, and whatever be their professions or vocations, they are basically ignorant of this subject, and they are taking it too casually. As I told you, because the rights of the child or anything matters concerning child have very less importance in developing countries. It is the other way around in developed countries. In developed countries, the state and the government takes a much more proactive role than the parents themselves. But it is just the reverse here in underdeveloped countries. So that is the main reason why this is not getting mainstream. Next is that regarding the judiciary, the fact I believe that the judiciary, at least one level of the judiciary, is well aware of this, but there are a lot of factors hidden behind this. Number one is a factor is that suppose I give you a very good, very appropriate order from the court in the first day, you will never come to the court the second day. So basically, finances are involved, a legal profession itself is involved.
Do
Number
you agree
three,
to this, Mr. Zaki? What is he saying?
I'll never agree to this.
Number three, number three is the lawyers. Most of the lawyers themselves practice and guide this parental alienation techniques amongst their clients, and they themselves encourage and they bring out the parts into which the parental alienation should go, because it suits their pockets. That's number three. Number four, the government doesn't want it to come into this picture because the government itself is sensitive about votes, and the votes matters. So therefore, they don't go into this. I will not talk details into it. It will be a very controversial issue now. That is, these are the major
You're
factors
already
on which
getting into
this.
a lot of controversies, Mr. Mitra.
No, what I'm speaking is the truth, and I can substantiate with all my research work. So I don't mind. And I have put this representation to the Supreme Court, in fact, and I've filed an PIL also there, and you will find out in 2, 3, 4 years. I can tell you that some change will come, but it will take 3, 4 years because that's how the judiciary moves. Because it is a tortoise, so it
But
sleeps.
I am
So,
I'm sure like your research work is not concerned with the
pardon? No, I'm concerned with the parental alienation part of it. So, not anything else. And see and that is why you see, unless these people, the media has to come forward. The editors and the big houses. I have been talking to them. I have talked to Telegraph, talked to Times. I have gone to Delhi. I have talked to Lok Sabha TV. I have talked to a lot of people around in my limited capacity and with the friends around. And I have found that the editors do not have a take because it doesn't have a TRP. And why it doesn't have a TRP? Because it's a very serious subject on which you cannot have a TRP, right?
Exactly.
Like the way that
We're just pushing the buck. We're just pushing the buck from media to
no,
law to the
no, yeah.
courts
So
to courts
therefore,
to the social
yeah,
worker to the
no.
social
So
worker.
therefore, you see, what is you have to do is like our organization here. We have a lot of fledgling organizations in North India also, right? Somewhere in Delhi also, we have some people. We have our own branches in 3 parts of the country, and we are also now having an NRI branch also because a lot of Indians abroad who are facing this problem. Right. So now we are giving it a push. You see, to get this into the main light stream and for creating awareness, you have to push people because people are sleeping. So that is what we are doing. And we had a very good press conference last year. We could not follow it up this year because of COVID. And it was covered in a lot of main newspapers. I can share with you all last year. So this will come. It will happen. Eventually, it will happen. But as it happens, as you know that everything, every change and everything good in developing countries comes late. You see.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that is what it is. Nothing else. It's
So with
basically
this
a
note, we can end the session, and so with the hope that yes, the days are coming, we would be much more aware of the social concern called parental alienation, right, Mr. Bitru? That's
I'm
what you're saying.
I'm definitely confident about it because the
Okay,
people that I have talked about who didn't know anything, they now
Mhm.
follow me. I mean, at least they want to know from me what is happening. So I can see the
Superb,
change amongst people. So it will happen
superb,
definitely
superb.
because
So
we are talking
Swati,
about
before
the
we
children.
okay, okay,
The
okay,
main thing
yeah.
is we are talking about the children here. We are not talking about any father, mother, males, females, thing, nothing. Therefore, that is where the perspective has to be right. This is an
Correct.
alienation
True.
which affects the children as they said, it also affects the parent. Right. So it's basically a human topic. It is nothing to do with gender wars or nothing to do with, abusive parents, nothing to do with that.
Right, right. Swati, what's your concluding statement? What's your how to take it forward from the clinical perspective?
As I mentioned, that the courts ideally should have some sort of counseling ingrained while the divorce process is going on to make the child aware of what all changes would be coming, and probably something, a little bit of the parental alienation syndrome, something to be included for the parents too. So at least maybe many of them are doing it because they're not even aware of it. What they're doing is affecting or
Yes.
harming their children. So it's always good to be informed. So they make
Brilliant.
informed
Yeah.
choices. Yeah.
True.
So
True. Absolutely.
I feel that if that is done, maybe a lot of damage could be saved because not everybody is mean or bad. Sometimes they
Mhm.
do it unknowingly and subconsciously.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Yeah, Swati.
yeah.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Zaki, what's your take on this? How to take it forward?
like see I'll tell you like people, it's just that the term people don't know about parental alienation, but people are feeling it. Okay,
Mhm.
because that is one thing. You ask any parent who is like fighting a child custody case, they can feel like what the child is going through, they can feel what they are going through, they are knowing the entire situation, but it's just that they don't know ki, yes, there is something called parental alienation, or they are going through parental alienation. It's just like a Bhopal gas leak case.
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
were
Mhm.
people were consuming air, but like it was mixed with poison, so they know like it's a, there is a thing, but they don't know it's a poisonous thing. So
Mhm.
yes, like people need to aware. We need to have a lot of seminars, we need to have conferences, we need to have talk shows like this, so people get aware of this, and people, for the sake of their child, for the better of the child, they, take up these issues before the judiciary, and wherever they can, so that we have a better future and better children.
Right. Yeah, Mr. Mitra.
Yeah, there is one good point for my friend Zaki, I must say, because I've been I pulled his leg. That is, as you were also asking about how this awareness can come in. There's just a very good, order which has come out from the Telangana High Court just 15, 18 days back, and where the Justice Amarnath Gaud himself has commented on this, and he has said that no parent is a guest in somebody's life, in a child's life, and there should be equal and even not equal then adequate access to children. So it's not that the judiciary at all, everybody is not unaware of it. There are certain orders which are coming which are good, but there are very few in between. So if you have say 100 judges, maybe 3 judges are thinking about it. The rest 97
Because
are
from
opting.
last
That is the problem.
because from last 3 years you are working on parental alienation. No?
No, it's not that.
So the judges are getting aware.
No, the Supreme Court had already passed this in 2017 before I came into the picture in March. So it's not, as I told you, there's certain people who know certain knowledge. I think the fault lies in the thing that these judges are also not sensitized by the judicial academy. As I was telling you in the beginning, they don't have a paper on alienation at all. You see, it's the same with the government also. The social welfare ministry doesn't even know what is it. I can when I share the RTI replies with you, you'll be smiling. They are just putting the ball into this court and that court, this court and that court.
You
I
are
don't
also
know
well
which
aware,
court
like
will ultimately address the issue. So that is the problem, actually.
exactly. And as I
So
said, like there are judges like in High Court. You know how the elevation is done from bar to bench. Like if a
yes,
judge who has been practicing service matters all throughout, that is very
yes.
obvious. Like he must have never dealt with family law matters, and when he
See,
has
but the
not
thing
dealt with
is,
family,
thing is that see the alienation you do not need law because actually
no,
custody matters do not actually revolve on law. It
uh,
revolves on
so
practical and common sense.
generally, like the experience counts, and like when you have not done a matter in a particular field, your knowledge regarding that particular field is really less than what you have been practicing.
But then in this case, the matter should be given to some suitable benches. They shouldn't go to all sort of a Tom, Dick, and Harry bench, where at the end of
No,
the day, the litigant suffers.
they are not Tom, Dick, and Harrys.
No, no, they are
They are
Tom, Dick,
really
and Harry as far as your family matters are concerned.
I
Yes,
think,
yes, that.
sorry to interrupt, we are actually running out of time. Now, Jagdushini, before we conclude, what's your take about this, taking it forward?
Look, I'm no expert, and I have just witnessed this happen to. It
Yes,
has happened
yes,
to me
yes.
in my life.
Yeah,
So
that has made,
I would really welcome if, as a side issue, it could also be made somehow mandatory for a parent to spend a certain amount of time with their child. Because I have watched my son go through these psychological phases where he feels rejected or abandoned, or he feels that all his friends have fathers and he doesn't, and he wants me to get a father. He went to the extent of suggesting that I remarry as a child, as a boy, simply to complete what he sees as the
the
family unit.
family. Yeah.
Uh, it is only later on, as he has grown older, he has accepted the fact that this is the family that he has, and he has adjusted to it. But no child should have to do that. So, as a side issue, if a parent is alienating by themselves, if parents are alienating themselves by choice, they should be made to see that yes, you need to take your child out for a lunch or a dinner or a movie. um, make that mandatory. You need to spend at least say 10 hours a month or whatever it is with your child, no matter what. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would welcome that. I would welcome that.
So with that note, so we are actually concluding the session. It was really really nice. It was
Thank
overwhelming to
you.
meet
Thank
all
you.
of you. Swati joining from
Thank
Chicago,
you.
and Zaki, and Mr. Mitra and Jagdushini. Thanks a ton.
Thank
And
you.
I think
Thank
parental
you.
alienation we all would be aware of parental alienation as a social issue, and yes, the awareness will grow. So thanks a lot. Have a very good night, and yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
all
you
of
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.